Hello and welcome to CATraxx Live. I hope everyone can hear me okay. Let me see if I can see how any comments being made. I can see my screen. Hopefully you can see my screen as well. This is all new to me, so I've got a slight agenda to go through. Martin on the forum did have a question about field length for an audio file. So I will try to answer that in a little bit. First off, I am Doug Williams. I have been a CATraxx user since August of 2001. And since then, I have logged probably thousands of hours using the program. And I thought in this time we could use some additional sorry, I'm just getting used to all the notifications that are coming up. And so I apologize. Like I say, I'm all new to this. So with CATraxx, let's just start with some of the more simple things. And I have tried to reset my CATraxx back to the default forms and Explorer templates, but you may see something that doesn't quite look the way that yours does. CATraxx has been very customizable, and I have taken very much advantage of those things. Probably one of the first things you see is the color codes each of the lines have on the view screen in the for the albums. And I have based that off of the status of the album. In this case, for this group, AB Logic, it has that bluish color, and you'll have to forgive me, I am colorblind, so if I say the wrong color name, it's due to that. AB Logic has a status of want. So anything in that light blue color are albums that I want. It's on my want list. Those in this color here, and I'm not even going to pretend I know what color that is called, those are just reference albums. For some reason, I wanted to have them in the database as a reference, but I don't necessarily want them. If I run across them, I will gladly add them to the collection, but they are just a reference. There are some other statuses that I have in here. You might occasionally run across a yellow. There's some that signifies that I need to re-verify the album because I've run across conflicting data. So I need to actually get the physical data or physical media and verify that to what my database says. And to do that, if you go into the lookup view and you go into the status forms, you can see your background colors there. Right? And some of you may be wondering why I have a status of want when there is a separate want list in CATraxx. I did initially use the want list, but I've found that I'm going to more than likely add them to the collection anyway. And with statistics, which we can cover at another session, I can eliminate them so I can get accurate statistics. So anything that I want, I just add to the regular collection. And again, that's the flexibility of CATraxx. You can do multiple things multiple ways. Did have a question on, now I've got to find my example album. Well, let's move on to the next one. One of the things, if you've been on the old forum and on the new forums, one of the things I'm known for is backups, and just wanted to cover that. With that, backups are taking the database and just creating a zip file, which is a compressed file of your database. So if you go to File, Backup Database, and in this particular setup, it will put a date and time associated with it, and then you can click Save, and it will save it, and then you can have a backup. You can put it anywhere. You can put it on a USB stick, put it onto another drive. You can put it pretty much anywhere that you want. And I'm not sure if anybody is making a comment. I can't see anything. So if you are, I'm just not seeing if anybody's making a comment. So I apologize if I'm not acknowledging you. Another thing that, one of the things that I do with the various layouts and the various sorts is I have some default layouts that I have. So I will rename them with an underscore default so that they always go to the top of the list. And so then you always can find your default sort order or your other default layout. I have other ones based off of various tasks that I'm working on. I have a to be filed layout, which is I file my albums and 12-inch singles by the date that I have registered them with CATraxx. So anything that I got in April of 2020, I put all in one section. And that way everything is just kind of put at the end and it can continually grow. So I use this to kind of help organize my organization for the physical media. And this also helps me, that sort, also helps me get to one of the first things I wanted to talk about was swapping images, in that I had a question about being able to show image 2, which usually is the back cover, with image 1. And what you can do is just click and hold from image 1 and drag it over to image 2, and the images will swap positions. So now my image 1 is the back cover and image 2 is the front cover. You can put it back. So if you ever needed to swap, you don't need to like drag it down to here. You can just swap it out outright. I mentioned at the beginning that I did try to reset the forms and my views back to the default. With CATraxx, you do have the ability to design your own forms. So you can do a multitude of things. You can move things around, things that you don't need, or you want to move them someplace else. Or if you've created some custom fields and you want to move them to something more appropriate, you can certainly do that with Form Designer. And what you can do is you can also save your forms out to an individual file that then you can load into a database. So my album file that I normally use, I saved. And this is what my current form that I personally use looks like. It's narrower, has some color coding involved with it, and the fields are rearranged to things that help me organize my information a bit more. And I've also done the same with the tracks. And it is asking if I want to keep the existing field names. No, I want to use the names that I call them on my current form. And so that's what my track form looks like. Colors help me focus to the areas that I need to review. And things that might not be used as frequently as others. One of my current projects is to go through and add the chart information for the tracks. So I have a book of all the Billboard hits that Joel Whitburn has done for the US. And I am now going through, and anything that I already own, I'm identifying what charts those tracks belong to. Let me default back to CATraxx forms. All right, just so that in case you're used to the default forms, this goes a little easier for you than trying to reinterpret what I've created. All right. Splitting artist. One of the things that I did too with CATraxx, you have the ability to mark your albums with that, and then you can filter down to just those that you have marked. One of the things that has come to my attention when I use it, I need a second mark one. So I've created one of the custom fields that allows me to just mark the tracks that I want, or albums in this case. I'm going into the artist person form. And I want to do a split. And a split is taking this name and breaking it up so that there is Molly O'Day and the Cumberland Mountain Folks. And that's with the split button here. So we'll click on that. And in this separator, we'll say with. So what it's going to do is break up Molly O'Day and the Cumberland Mountain Folks. So you'll have a split with that. We'll do that. And we'll just tweak that. And it's going to update. And if there is already a Molly O'Day, it's going to just combine with it. And if there's not a Cumberland Mountain Folks, it will create it automatically. And so now I have a Molly O'Day. And I have a Cumberland Mountain Folks. And I just popped over to the Explorer to show that. Okay. We're at the 16 minute mark. I didn't want to go too much longer than this, but I did want to go over what Martin had asked, and that was in the database. The audio file name seems to be limited to 128 digits. In the manual, the field length is described as 255. And I have a theory, and we're going to try it today. So what I have done is I have created 2 MP3 files with a very long name. And I've created tracks that have very long names. And these names, as far as the tracks themselves are concerned, are about 220 characters, I believe. We can do the math by looking at 7 columns times 3, 21, so 22. So roughly 220 characters in length, and it takes that fine. If we look at the audio file, it shows that with the same length. So manually attaching a file name with more than the 128 is possible. My assumption is going to be that if you auto organize, it's going to be limited to the 128, because I believe between the file name and the folder path, it cannot be more than 255, which still, according to the data structure of CATraxx, it should be able to handle 255 for the folder and 255 for the file name. But when you combine the two, it still wants to keep it 255 or less. But I thought we'd at least test the feature for the auto organize and just see what happens. So we're just going to run this on this particular album only. We have it prompting us, letting us know what it's going to rename it to. And there was an error, which I had assumed there would be. Let me bring that over. And it says the file does not exist. And I believe it's because the auto organize is truncating in some way, and that's probably a bug with the system that Frederick would have to handle. But I believe it can manually handle it. It's when you start to look at the auto organize and having both folder and file name more than 255, that's where some of the issues come into play. So file name by itself is not an issue. At least it's apparent, but it's the combination of the two. So with that, we're at the 20-minute mark. I don't want to go too much longer, take too much of your time. One, I hope this all worked. I haven't seen any questions live, so I apologize if there were. Like I've repeatedly said, this is new to me, so hopefully I can figure out the bug so I can see your comments and we can do this again. So thank you for your time. Have a great day. Stay safe, wash your hands, and keep on cataloging.